everyone. My name is Atsuko.
Salam, keme aleha. My name is Ermias.
In case you haven't seen the Discord server video Rosella posted that we were both in, I'm the avatar of Amaterasu, the Japanese goddess of the sun. And my boyfriend Ermias here is the avatar of Hiwat, the Eritrean goddess of nature. Also, for those of you that are in the Bay Area, you should stop by my dad's family martial arts gym called the Masashi Dojo. I occasionally stop by to volunteer every now and then, so you're likely to run into me. I love communicating and meeting new people, so feel free to approach me, whether if you have some questions or if you just want to have a friendly conversation.
Atsuko, I think we should get started with the main topic of the video before you get carried away with your promotion.
Heh. I guess you're right. Even though we have bills to pay, plus how amazing it would be to bring in some more new people, I wouldn't want this to become long and unnecessary like a Star Rail cutscene. Anyways, since Genshin version 6 is on the way along with Nod Cry, we felt like this would be a good time to discuss about the changes that we want to see.
Most of them have been implemented into their other games. For example, Star Rail and Zenless Zone Zero both got a free 10-pull daily login at the beginning of every patch, which Genshin should have been added a long time ago.
Yeah, this would be really helpful for Genshin players since it recently surpassed 100 characters after Skirk's release. But instead, we get 1-2 times a year during the anniversary and Lantern Rite. Also, I just remembered something. They had the audacity to start the free 10-pull login after the terrible 5.3 first phase banners when they dropped 2 new characters at the same time.
Oh yeah! I also remember the mid-mini events they had to put on the first phase for obvious reasons.
The thing that struck me the most is this year's disastrous Lantern Rite, where nearly the entire English cast was muted because of the SAG-AFTRA situation. I explained how upset I was about Hu Tao not having her voice in her most important story that was locked behind the event, which is never coming back.
They did her so much worse than Albedo, who has majority of his story locked behind old events before the 5.6 Archon quest. I remember Necrit made a video 2 years ago talking about the problems with Genshin, when he pointed out how they would shove important lore into events. He also explained how he had no idea who Albedo was when he randomly showed up during an event.
Yeah, a lot of newer players are never gonna know who most of those characters are unless they randomly appear in events. For example, I don't believe we've seen Emily since her story quest last year, and Ga Ming and Lan Yan only appeared during the recent Lantern Rites.
Now that you bring that up, Atsuko, Ga Ming's English VA could get replaced since the same exact thing happened to his role as Kalos in Star Rail.
The same thing also happened with Stelle. Although her current voice actor is actually pretty decent, don't get me wrong, it doesn't hit the same compared to her original VA after playing through the disastrous Fate collab.
In case y'all couldn't tell by now, we're trying to be as professional as possible because we actually want Hoyo to see this video despite how difficult the task will be. Maybe it's a good thing we had Aloy as a collab since they would have possibly ruined that story, or whatever collab they decide to do as well.
As much as I agree with you in some ways, Ermias, I can't believe the fact that Hoyo had an entire year to make the Fate collab the best event possible. We should come back to this topic later. Speaking of events, Hoyo decided to make the summer event map permanent along with the story. But we won't be able to play the mini-games for extra primos after it's over, which is somewhat understandable, since Star Rail, which has had a similar feature since the beginning of the game, is what Genshin should already have by now, especially since we didn't have a good experience with Nahida's birthday event since nearly everyone besides Sino and some NPCs were muted.
Oh yeah, that event was even worse than this year's Lantern Rite. Although the Inazuma and Fontaine events were slightly better, they both felt empty since most of the characters were also muted.
Yeah, I'm glad that most of the fan favorites like Furina, Nuvolette, Ayaka, Yai Miko, and Raiden Shogun, for example, were able to stick around. Even though Furina's VA isn't a union member, I was surprised to hear her voice back in the version 5.4 film editing event, where everyone from Mondstadt to Fontaine shot commercials for their own promotions. Speaking of which, after seeing Sucrose's VA getting replaced, this has me more concerned about where the future is leading to.
Hey guys. Genshin fans, there's been some controversy about me. And I'd like to address it, because a lot of it's really toxic. So.
I agree with you. Also, Sean Chiplock should have been fired a long time ago after what he'd been pulling for so many years.
You know, I still to this day wonder how that creep still has a job. This might be off topic, but apparently he refuses to work for Genshin. But he was more willing to take on a role from their other game. By the way, you should all watch the video Paperbag Boy made about him. There will be a link to it on the top right of your screen. I also wonder what's gonna happen with Lynette's VA after the tweet she posted as an attempt to negotiate with Hoyo to sign the interim agreement, since Fei Xiao, who is the character she voices in Star Rail, and Jiaocho were both muted in the second Amphorius trailer.
This may or may not be true, but what if like Venti's VA as well as a few others? She was also getting threats to comply with them.
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually true. Also, bringing back old events would be a perfect way for new players to catch up with what they've missed out on instead of having to watch it on YouTube. This isn't as relevant now since Kiori has been out for a year, but Albedo has a signature defense scaling sword made for him from version 2.3 that is locked forever behind his event. Although there are some other pretty good free-to-play friendly event weapons, it'll never compare to Festering Desire, which is still somewhat relevant, being the first event weapon from all the way back in version 1.2, since you can use it on Furina nowadays as a good free-to-play option. So once again, Hoyo, if you end up watching this, please bring back old events for new players, including some veterans that never got a chance to experience them. If you can do it for Star Rail and your other games, there should be no excuse on why you wouldn't be able to do it for Genshin, which is your best game of all time. Also, another thing that the community really wants is a legit artifact loadout system where you can customize the exact pieces you want instead of it automatically generating a set for you.
It also had the Hoyo community going crazy after seeing that Wuthering Waves ended up doing it a lot better than every Hoyo game combined.
It's getting to the point where we need it more than ever, since some characters use different sets, like Zelonin and Raiden, for example, depending on the team comp situation. Also, it would be a lot easier for players who have so many characters like Ziox, for example, to set up their builds a lot better without having to go through everything one by one. Shout out to him, since he's been the plug for so many years, basically teaching everyone how to play.
Although despite that, the way he gets repaid is by his chat trolling him. But I guess that comes with being a YouTuber. Other than that, I wonder what could be holding them from going through with it, since I feel like this is something Hoyo could easily do.
Speaking of things Hoyoverse easily being able to do, they need to give us a skip button, like what they recently did with Star Rail, since we're aware that either not everyone likes playing through the story, like M-Tashed, for example, back when he used to play, or don't want to see the same cutscene all over again.
My homeboy Ignacio has been complaining that he's been coming across some problems where when you leave a certain area during certain quests, the cutscene starts all over again and there's nothing you can do to get rid of it.
Also, another problem I have is when you're in a special story mode, and if you leave unless you get to a certain point, whether if you forgot to set something up or if you crash at the worst time possible, it starts your entire progress all over again. I know someone who was stuck at the first special story in the 5.7 Archon quest, since their old gaming laptop kept cutting off at random times, and they had to switch to their PS4 after an hour that they hardly ever use nowadays.
Now that you mention it, Atsuko, I remember hearing when they dropped Nod Cry, they're gonna slowly start discontinuing Genshin on the PS4 due to the limitations on there. For those of y'all that don't got a PS5, I highly recommend linking your account to your email through the user center so you can use it anywhere else before it's too late.
That's really gonna suck for people who can't afford one for their own reasons. Plus, Sony could come out with the PS6 at any moment. Although you could also play them on your phone, but not everyone likes doing that. Plus, you also gotta worry about storage, even though there's now a way to shorten it. Another quality of life change we could really use is for the artifact transmuter system. Compared to Star Rails, this is a lot worse since you can only craft one artifact set each per patch. Also, you need at least 2 to 4 sanctifying elixirs to craft a specific type of main stat you want. While all you need is one self-modeling resin to craft the main stat you want. You can get these from events, battle passes, or a shop called Jokes Come True that resets every month. Plus, you can also craft as many pieces from a set that you need.
It's a way better version of Genshin's artifact strongbox that we've had for years, since it actually lets you choose the type of piece you want to craft instead of you having to throw your bad artifacts just to get a random piece that you're not looking for. You also get to choose the substats you want through another type of currency called Wishful Resin, from what I know where you can get from the Battle Pass, or crafting some self-modeling resin.
Although Genshin automatically lets you choose the substats you want, even through the quality of life they did back in version 5.5 where you're guaranteed crit rolls, it still doesn't change the fact that you still need at least 2 elixirs to craft the main stat you want. Plus, your artifact rolls can still go terrible. Also, most of them, as well as some artifacts it came with, were locked behind the tribal rooms where to unlock them, you had to collect 3 pieces of the rings for each of the tribes through random chests, which was a pain to go through. Oh no! I'm concerned that they're gonna do something similar with the Nod Cry factions. I'm begging you, Dawe, please don't make us go through that again. Anyways, another thing we need is either a shorter resin recharge time since it takes way too long for it to fill, or a way to store excess resin like we can in Star Rail.
This would be really helpful for Genshin players who are on vacation, or haven't been able to play as much due to certain reasons, whether it be due to work, taking care of family, or other real-life priorities.
Some people could even be taking a break for a while due to burnout and want to try something new before coming back with a fresh mindset. I know we already have condensed resin, but let's be real. That's barely enough since it takes so long to get a close to perfect piece from a set you're looking for. And while we're on this topic, I never liked the fact that specific talent and weapon domains are only available during a certain day, or that we can only farm 1 weekly boss per week. Compared to Star Rail, that has everything available whenever you have the time and resin to farm for them. This reminds me of something. Does anyone remember the survey they put somewhere around 5.4 to 5.5, where they asked us questions about our concerns that they should already know the answer to? Just for them not to go through with it either way. If that ended up being the case, then what the heck was the point of giving us this survey in the first place?
As much as I'm hoping for Nod Cry to be a good arc, both this and even Star Rail, with what they got going on, have been unlocking the exits for more people to quit. Especially since Wuthering Waves, which has been around for a year now, has been more generous towards their players.
You know, before it came out, I was actually hoping for that game to outdo Genshin so it can force the Hoyo devs to get their act together. But it barely changed anything, even with majority of the quote-unquote quality of life changes they put out. They always make them into a worse version of what other games have. Also, speaking of Wuthering Waves, although their character banners are the same as the Hoyo games, their weapon banner, however, has it to where they're 100% guaranteed no matter what. Although Genshin has improved theirs a bit by reducing the fate point required to 1, it still doesn't change the fact that if you lose, it doesn't carry over to the next banner compared to Star Rail and ZZZ. During that same patch, they also introduced Capturing Radiance, which saves you from losing your 50-50 on character banners, although it triggers at a questionable chance. However, if you ask us, the best thing they should have done was remove the 50-50 system entirely and have the Acquaint Fate more accessible in-game for more people to pull on the standard banner.
I remember they had Tawanto discussing about it with the devs on the 5.0 livestream. If it were me, I would have given them better recommendations for fixing their system instead of some of these content creators being yes men. But then again, he's under their contract, so he can't really say that much. Also, no disrespect towards you if you end up watching this Tawanto.
Well, someone had to say it, so I don't blame you for it, Ermias. Come to think of it, it would be pretty funny if they brought in Tectone or even Mtashed, since they would have went off on everyone and told them the truth about the changes the fans really want. It's like the devs are scared of hearing the truth since their main focus is using us for money so Wei can buy his yachts and live his best life like he's Klay Thompson. I haven't seen that much of Wuthering Waves, but I feel like they've been profiting while listening to their community.
By the way, just in case y'all haven't watched it yet, Cosmos made a video not too long ago discussing about how the popular gacha games have been treating their community while going in depth about everything he showcases. Also, Star Rail added a shop where you can buy the standard 5 stars as well as a couple limited ones, such as Ruin Mei and Luocha that they added. Ruin Mei can still be a decent option for some teams other than Super Break, and Luocha can do pretty well with Castoris and My Day if you don't got Hyacine.
Although the way to get the currency for it is beyond me. You have to get a 5-star to C6 first and pull for more of their copies afterwards. As for the light cones, you need to buy the $20 battle pass to get 2 of the currencies combined.
But in Star Rail's defense, they were at least generous enough to give us a golden companion spirit during the anniversary back in 3.2 to let us get started with choosing the character we want.
This is also something Genshin really needs to do since there are way too many characters. And some of them don't even get their reruns the entire version series nowadays, like Yellen and the rest of the Sumeru 5 stars, for example. There's a rumor going on that the Sumeru Chronicle banner will take place around the beginning of Nod Cry, but my concern is that a lot of these characters, like Sino as an example, even though he isn't as popular, haven't had their reruns in over a year. Speaking of which, they should also make it like the special banners from Star Rail, where your pity carries over no matter which banner you pull on. Also, if you're still gonna have the fate point system, at least have it to where it carries over to the next Chronicle banner, since it's a waste losing to a character that you didn't want, only to not be able to hold on to it till the next Chronicle banner for a character you really want that's on there. Anyways, since Star Rail, ZZZ, and even Wuthering Waves have given out free 5 stars lately, Genshin really needs to do the same since those games are getting much better treatments, while the Genshin community only got Aloy, who is worse than even a 4-star. Compared to how they made Archer from the Star Rail Fate collab, she's literally unplayable for any team comp. Well, besides a Freeze team where Gordon Ramsay and the rest of her supports carry her. Also, word on the street is that Dan Heng's new form will be the next free 5-star during version 3.6. If you ask me once again, they should have made Inefa and even Emily from back in version 4.8 free since first off, not that many people pulled for those characters. Plus, they both introduce a new playstyle similar to what Dr. Ratio with his follow-up mechanic did back when he brought chaos towards the community in version 1.6. Although you may also say the same for Risley since he isn't as popular either. Siege Ween, on the other hand, should have most definitely been a standard banner character due to how useless she is. It's like they didn't know if they wanted her to be a healer or a DPS.
Adam, look at me. Are you gonna focus on healing us?
Fine. Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, so Britt and I will tank the damage. Alan, hit him with the arrows. Adam, focus on healing us. Okay, on my count.
Holy dagger!
Good thing Genshin managed to make it work with a Scoffier in the end, and Star Rail, on the other hand, made it work with Lingshaw for break teams.
You can also say the same for Hyacine since her pet unicorn also starts doing some damage when she takes her turn after she uses her ult, which boosts everyone's HP for 3 turns. Also, an honorable mention I have is if you guys could stop leaving the important world quests unvoiced. I just started the Mare Javari world quest up until when we run into Citlali, and the fact that it isn't voiced after it being one of the main showcases in the trailer ruins everything. It's also been hyped up since the beginning of Natlan during Kinnich's story quest, which was continued by the version 5.2 event when Citlali and Auroron had to save his friend from their tribe who was trapped under a spell.
I personally haven't started it yet, but they've been doing something like this for so many years. The stories that still disappoint me to this day are Jet's world quests, since those could have been explained so much better if only they had voiceovers.
Yeah, and also I don't know whether if she would have been a 4 or 5 star, but whichever one they decide to go with, she should have been a playable character. Also, another thing that threw me off is when Sorush from the 3.6 World Quest randomly appeared in Nahida's birthday event and had actual voice lines all of a sudden.
Oh yeah! Ignacio and I were thinking that she randomly came out of our inventory as a glitch. Nobody was expecting her to be in this event. By the way, Atsuko, I think we should stop the video here since it's starting to get too long.
Oh, you're right! I didn't realize how long we've been recording for. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe for more of our content in the future.
Also, let us know about some of your ideas in the comments. If there's anything else that we forgot to mention, we might make a part 2 of this.
Also, if you end up watching this video Hoyoverse, We really advise you to take notes on these ideas. If you can actually start listening to your community, then a lot more people will be more likely to give this game a try and even stay for a longer term. But whatever you do, I beg you to not bring in Xiaoji to ruin everything.